Dave Palumbo with Palumbo's Pythons and Boas for another installment of Muscle Serpents University. And guess what? We're in the midst of the breeding season, and that means trying to make babies. And I know a lot of you guys have been interested in asking me, what are you breeding this year? What are you going to produce? And I know a lot of breeders don't really like to talk about what they're putting together because number one, they don't want people to know what they're making. And number two, they don't want to jinx themselves because, you know, if you go and say, hey, I'm breeding this boa to this boa and then you don't produce anything, it's kind of like, well, maybe I jinxed myself. I remember last year I bred my IMG Anery het albino female to a male moonglow, and I saw like 5 locks from these boas, and I was convinced of all the litters, I figured this one was definitely going to happen. And I even videotaped it, and people have been emailing me, asking me, hey, can I buy a baby? And I'm like, there were none. And you just don't know why sometimes. Things just don't go as planned. So, but I don't care. I'm going to lay it on the line. I'm going to show you some of my boa pairings this year. Some of them are kind of exciting. Some of them are very few repeats I'm doing. I kind of gave most of the females that I worked with last year the year off. So this year we're going to do a few repeats, but mostly new pairings, and hopefully we're going to get some cool stuff. And so let's go down into my collection, take a look at what we're breeding, and we'll see if anyone has any interest in what's going to be coming out. Let's check it out. All right, this is our Motley Albino Het Leopard female. She's a Call albino. We call her Pinky. She used to have a pink tail when she was a baby. And that is my Sunglow Het Leopard that I produced last year from my Albino Leopard breeding. And he's awesome. You could see he's Het Leopard. I mean, he looks leopard. He's got leopard markings on him. And he's great, got great color, great red in him, tremendous. He's breeding this year for the first time, and as you can see, we got a nice lock over there. And I'm hoping to produce some albino eclipses. Now the eclipse is when you combine the Motley gene with the leopard. Okay, they create this solid black snake. When you add albino in there, you get a solid white snake with like a very, very thin, almost like, see that like ribbon-like, it looks like a little ribbon-like stripe on it, but it's a solid snake. I produced 3 albino eclipses last year. They all died, unfortunately. They were just like weird. They had big bellies and stuff like that. So I'm hoping to try it again. This year should be better luck because this guy's a visual albino. Last year I used a double het. I used a Hypo double het albino leopard. So this year we have the visual albino, so I think we should have better odds. Even though we really struck the odds last year really well. We just didn't get the ones living that we wanted. Obviously, I would have liked to have at least one to show it off. So this is a really exciting breeding. Hopefully, you know, all will go well. I've been trying to feed her a little bit more than I usually don't feed boas during the breeding season, but I've been feeding her a little bit because I want to keep her weight up because she did breed last year. All the other babies, or all the other females I kind of gave off this season that bred last year, but not her because I really wanted to produce that albino eclipse. So I've been feeding her, and it doesn't seem to be inhibiting her ability to, or at least it doesn't seem to be stopping her from breeding with the male. So let's see what happens. All right, this is my albino leopard that I got from Tom Burke a couple years ago. She bred 2 years ago. That was my first boa litter ever, and she produced some beautiful babies. And I didn't get any visual albino leopards, but I got that male I just showed you, that Sunglow Het Leopard. And I am going to breed her this year with her son, the Sunglow Het Leopard, and hopefully we'll produce some beautiful albino leopards. We should have a really good shot since she's a visual and he's almost a visual. You know, 50% of the babies should be albino leopards. So let's see what we get. Hopefully we'll get some Sunglow albino leopards too, and we should have some great stuff. She's big. We really fed her pretty well the last year. She should, I've seen her lock with him a few times, so hopefully we'll get some great albino leopards this year and like some Sunglows. I think a lot of people are going to really want these. They're really, when they're babies, they are outstanding looking. Now, as you can see, when they get a little older, they tend to fade a little bit. But even she's got some great coloring on her. I mean, and she's just like one of the tamest boas I've ever had. She's got an awesome personality. She just will let you do anything to her, and she just likes to play and come out and be social. So Okay, this is probably one of my most anticipated clutches for the coming year. And this is my Super Fire Diamond. It's the leucistic, black-eyed leucistic boa, elusive. Look at that eye. And we've been getting a lot of locks from her and the Fire Diamond male that I'm breeding her to. And obviously you can see she's nice and big. She's got some good size in her. She should definitely be able to breed. She's a 2014. I waited on her. She's got the good age on her. I think she's definitely, obviously, a good candidate to produce some babies. That would be my first Fire Diamonds that I've produced ever. If we do produce something, and we can obviously, given the genetics here, we can produce 50%. We should produce 50% Super Fire. So that's really an exciting clutch. And if you can tell, the cage is not spotlessly clean like I normally keep things, because you know what? I find that if there's a little bit of sometimes urine or some urates, that it definitely increases the likelihood of these snakes breeding. They seem to like a little bit of poop or pee in the cage. I don't know, maybe it's like the pheromones in it. So I don't try to keep these cages too clean when I'm breeding. But once again, this is, I can't wait. I really hope, like I said, there's things that you can hope for. I want, for some reason, I just love this white snake. I think the white boa is just the holy grail, so to speak. And I know a lot of people have produced them, not a ton of people, but a lot of people have. And so I think the price is coming down little by little so that the average boa consumer now is getting closer to being able to buy one of these things and having it in their collection. And it's like, once again, it's a real treat. So we'll see what happens over the next couple months. I haven't seen a shed from her yet, so I'm not counting the days yet, but I have a feeling she might go into shed soon, and that would mean 100 days after that. So we'll keep an eye on her, and let's move on. I lied before. I am breeding one more female that I did breed last year, and that is my Hypo Blood female, who is het anery type 2, which I found out last year, I didn't even know it, to the Super Hypo male het blood, also 100% type 2 anery, het anery. So we're gonna repeat that breeding because we got some really nice babies last year, and hopefully I can get some male hypo or super hypo bloods. That's what I'm really shooting for. So I can breed her again and get some good, really. The blood boas really sell well, and people really like them, and I think it's really cool to get them into different projects. So this one is going to be an exciting breeding, and they love these. They love to breed. They breed real easy, these girls. So let's see what we produce next year. All right, here's the most anticipated litter of last year that never happened. It's the only one I opened my mouth about, and I thought that we would definitely have babies. This is my IMG anery het albino female. I mean, she's about as black as you can get. The only place that she's white is underneath her chin. Now that's IMG's increasing melanistic gene when she started out. When I got her as a baby from Mike Weitzman at Basically Boas, she looked like almost like a normal boa, and she got darker and darker until she turned completely black. And I'm breeding her with a Moonglow boa. That when I first got him from Joe Consolini, he was pure white. And as we know, the Moonglows do yellow out a little bit. Okay. And now you can see they've been locked. We get a lot of locks from these guys, and that's why last year I really thought that we were going to get babies. Obviously, the holy grail would be the Moonglow IMG, which could possibly turn into a completely white snake as it gets older, potentially. If you know, the black stuff usually gets white, an all black should turn into an all white snake with a Moonglow. So we'll see. We'll have to see what that happens. Hopefully this year we will get some babies. I was convinced last year we were going to get some. A lot of people were asking me and emailing me, "Hey Dave, can I get some of the babies?" And I'm like, "Sorry, nothing happened. She just didn't go." So once again, looks very promising. This guy is awesome. I love him. The Moonglow boas are so underrated. I think people just take them for granted because they're a little bit more available nowadays. But they're awesome. Imagine that combined with this. So we're going for the Moonglow IMG this year. Let's see what we get. Okay, this is a interesting girl that I picked up as an adult. She's a super hypo aneuphoristic boa. I mean, she's got one of the biggest heads I've ever seen. Let me take a look at it. Let me just move it for a second. She has got an enormous, enormous head. You can tell when it's a super hypo. Look at that really, really light eye she's got. And obviously, there's no hint of red anywhere on her body because of that anery gene that's in there. And she's just gorgeous. She was like really small when I got her. She was kind of underfed, I think, by the person I got her from. And I think they just didn't appreciate her. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they didn't have a place in their breeding program, or maybe they just weren't breeding anymore. I don't know what the excuse was, but I picked her up and I've been feeding her to get her up to size. Because she's I think she's a 2009, yeah, so she's never bred before. So I'm hoping this year we're gonna get an interesting litter. I'm breeding her to my Hypo Labyrinth possible jungle. This is what I got. I got him from Jeff Ronnie a couple years back, and I've never produced any labyrinths yet, so that's an exciting project. I'm breeding him to a couple girls. I've seen them lock before. I just put him back in there because I'm moving him around. But the Labyrinth Boa is just an awesome, awesome project, and I think it's got a ton of potential. I just love that patterning, that labby patterning. I'd love to see a super, since she's a super hypo, I'd love to see a super hypo labyrinth, head for anery. I think that would be really cool. A black and white version of the anery would be, of the labyrinth would be super cool down the road. So that's one of the breedings here with the labyrinth. I'm going to show you a couple more I'm breeding him with. Okay, this is another snake I got from Jeff Ronnie a number of years back. This is a motley jungle sunglow with the most incredible red coraling I've ever seen. I mean, when she was a baby, she was even crazier looking. She's faded a little bit. Some of that white turned to yellow, but this is just such a red snake. You would swear there's another gene in there. That's just a sunglow, jungle, motley, and I couldn't figure out what to breed her to. She's so awesome. So I'm breeding her to the labyrinth, even though it's going to be a couple years before we really get what we want, which would be the albino labyrinth, the sunglow labyrinth, obviously the motley sunglow labyrinth. So there's a lot to do still, but I think that she is such great stock. She's got such great genes and phenotypic appearance that I think to put that with the labyrinth is just, it has to happen, So I can't even imagine what she's going to look like mixed with that labyrinth. Obviously the albinos are recessive, so we're going to get het albinos, but we can get labby, motley, jungle hypos that are, or even super hypos that are het for albino. So what we produce, who knows? I haven't produced anything ever with her before, so hopefully this year she will breed. We'll see what happens. I've been putting the labyrinth male in with her every other week or so, just to see what's going to happen. And like I said, with boas, you never know. We'll have to see down the road what's happening. I haven't seen any real. I've seen a couple locks, but not a lot of locks so far. But sometimes that's all it takes is a few. But once again, just a beautiful, beautiful boa. And finally, last but not least, maybe the best, here's our female Labyrinth Boa. And she's ready to go this year, for sure. I hope you've seen locks. I'm breeding her with the male Hypo Labyrinth. She's a Hypo Labyrinth, also possible jungle. I haven't seen anyone produce a super labyrinth yet. I can't believe that Jeff Ron hasn't yet. He says he hasn't, but supposedly, according to Jeff, he believes that the super will be the crystal, which is a white snake with, I think, bluish eyes. That's what they're saying. I don't know if that's the case or not, but hopefully we will find out. If I do get if this breeding does take and she does produce some babies, it's inevitable that we're going to get some super labyrinths if they are viable. And hopefully once and for all we'll have an answer to that question. I'm sure there's other people that are going to be answering that question this year as well. But I've seen many locks with her in the male, and that's super exciting. And I mean, you just don't get, look at the reds in this. I mean, yeah, she is hypo, but that labyrinth not only gives you that crazy pattern, but you're also getting a lot, I believe, of color enhancement in there as well. I truly believe that. And if we are to believe that the super is the crystal, that would probably make the labyrinth similar to some kind of a fire-ish type of gene. So there's got to be some lightning effects, because I do see a lot of reds and pinks in here. And we're not, like I said, it's not a super hypo. This is just a regular hypo. So once again, we don't really know what we're going to get. That's the exciting part of breeding, the unknown variables. But once again, this is I got a lot of boas breeding this year. Who produces, who doesn't, it's anyone's guess, of course. But it's the excitement of opening up that cage one of these days, hopefully in 100, 120 days from now, and seeing something that we've never seen before. That's what makes it all worth it. All right, guys, that was pretty exciting. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and you saw all the crazy boa pairings that I have for this season. Look, you know, last year I got 4 litters, which is pretty damn good considering I moved. And everything was kind of started a little late last year because of the fact that I moved. So I had my litters into August and September. I think this year we're going to have a lot of the boa litters probably in June and July, a little earlier in the year, because I started a month earlier when I probably should have, November 1st, as opposed to December 1st. Now, that doesn't mean anything. I could get better litters from last year than I did this year. Now, the thing last year that was kind of weird was I had my boas in my garage, and they were exposed to the ambient temperature here in Florida. You know, they had hot spots and everything like that, but it got really hot in the winter. So I thought maybe that would affect the sperm viability. So maybe we'll have better luck this year, or maybe we'll have worse luck. I don't know. I'd love to see about 6 litters. That's pretty good. Any more than that, now you start getting into a lot of babies. Now, I'm not going to complain if I get more, but once again, you never get 100% of what you put together. You know, if you get 50%, I think some people say you're lucky. 75% is tremendous odds. What I get, I won't know, but I would like you guys to put in the comment section below what you'd like to see me talk about next. Would you like to see me talk about my ball python pairings and my carpet python pairings next time? Also, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, because you know what? That encourages me to do more videos like this. I'm Dave Palumbo with another installment of Muscle Serpents University.